Hey everybody, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well folks, today's episode is going to be pretty different from most blogs I've done in the past. I mean, sure, my Pan's Labyrinth blog was also pretty different, but that was because it was based on a college assignment. Anyway, before we get started, I'd like to ask you guys, does anyone remember the Silly Symphony series? Well, I sure as hey do. But anyway, for those who don't know what the Silly Symphony series is, it's a series of animated shorts produced by Walt Disney Productions from 1929 to 1939. Unlike the Mickey Mouse cartoon universe, Silly Symphonies doesn't have any recurring characters, with a couple exceptions, and each one was depicted as a standalone production. The series included a total of 75 cartoons, and the series is mostly remembered as being a platform which Disney used to experiment with different processes, techniques, characters, stories, and technologies for which the then fledgling company could use to refine and perfect its animation style, making the series a key part in aiding Walt Disney's efforts to expand into full-length animated films. Over its 10-year run, Silly Symphonies would go on to win Disney 7 Academy Awards for Best Animated Short, eventually tying with William Hanna and Joseph Barbera's Tom and Jerry record for most Oscar wins for a series in the category, and spawned numerous imitations, some of which, like Warner Brothers' Merry Melodies, would go on to be major competitors with Disney. Ever since I was little, I thought a lot of these animated Disney shorts were some of the most classical and whimsical I've ever watched. Some of my favorites include their first short, The Skeleton Dance, along with Flowers and Trees, Babes in the Woods, Santa's Workshop, Lullaby Land, The Pied Piper, The Night Before Christmas, The Grasshopper and the Ants, The Goddess of Spring, The Tortoise and the Hare, Music Land, Broken Toys, The Old Mill, Mer Babies, The Wise Little Hen, aka Donald Duck's first cartoon, and The Ugly Duckling from 1939. However, today, in honor of their 90th anniversary, I'll be looking at 4 shorts which star the most famous and important characters who have made prominent names for themselves in Disney's history. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to the 3 Little Pigs. Now admit it, you guys knew I had to get to these characters sooner or later this year, especially since several of my viewers, subscribers, and fans have been asking me to for several months now. So anyway, let's start with their first short, released on May 27th, 1933, The 3 Little Pigs. Now, the short centers on 3 little pigs: Fifer Pig, who builds a house made of straw; Fiddler Pig, who builds a house made of sticks; and Practical Pig, who builds a house made of bricks. When the big bad wolf comes around, he blows 2 of their houses in, which causes Fiddler and Fifer to run to their brother's house for help. When the wolf can't blow in Practical Pigs, he attempts to enter the house by going down the chimney. But thankfully, the pigs manage to outsmart the wolf by having him land in a kettle of boiling water and burning his tail. Now, despite the fact that I never watched it during my early childhood, this short really is a Disney classic, and I really love it. And to further explain why, let's head over to Mustang Notes. The short was directed by Burt Gillett, who also directed the Flowers and Trees short. After its release, the cartoon was phenomenally successful with audiences, so much so that theaters ran the cartoon for months after its debut, to great financial response. To this day, the 3 Little Pigs cartoon is still considered to be the most successful animated short ever made, and has remained on top of animation until Disney was able to boost Mickey Mouse's popularity further by making him a top merchandise icon by the end of 1934. animator Chuck Jones observed that this was the first time that anyone ever brought characters to life in an animated cartoon. They were three characters who looked alike and acted differently. Plus, the short grossed about $250,000. It won the 1934 Academy Award for Best Animated Short of 1933. In 1994, it was voted number 11 of the 50 greatest cartoons of all time by members of the animation field. And in 2007, The Three Little Pigs was selected for preservation in the United States National Film Registry by the Library of Congress as being culturally, historically, or authentically significant. Unfortunately, the short did spark a little bit of controversy due to it featuring a scene where the big bad wolf disguises himself as a peddler for Fuller brushes in an attempt to trick Practical Pig into allowing him to enter his brick house. Why? Well, you see, in the original 1933 release, the peddler disguise is that of a stereotypical Jewish man, complete with a hat, a coat, a fake Jewish nose, glasses, and a fake beard. Also in that version, Yiddish music plays as the wolf disguises his voice with a strong Yiddish accent provided by Pinto Colvig while saying, "I'm the Fuller Brush Man, I'm giving away free samples." And it became more controversial after World War II. Thankfully, in 1948, the scene was reanimated with the wolf's disguise now only including a different pair of glasses along with the same hat and coat, his disguised voice no longer having a thick Yiddish accent. The line was changed to, "I'm the Fuller Brush Man, I'm working my way through college." And his disguised voice was changed from Pinto Colvig to Jimmy McDonald. Now, the reason why I said that I never watched this short during my early childhood was because neither my parents nor my grandmother could find it on VHS at the time. And it wouldn't be until sometime during the mid to late 1990s when I would officially see it along with a couple other Three Little Pigs shorts on the Disney Channel. And afterwards, YouTube starting in 2005, and just recently, Disney Plus starting in 2019. However, before I ever did watch the short, I became introduced to it by listening to the Disney read-along cassette tapes on the radio, as well as seeing the pigs and the wolf as meet and greet characters at Disneyland, and seeing their houses on the Storybook Land Canal Boats ride. And now, let's talk about the short song number, "Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf?" To me, this was one of my favorite Disney songs during my early childhood, ever since I listened to the read-along book. And every time I listen to it, I just can't help but sing and hum along to it. Also, I like that it was featured on the I Love to Laugh or Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious Disney sing-along video. Anyway, here are a few fun facts about the song. It was composed by Frank Churchill, who also wrote songs for Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, along with Dumbo, Bambi, The Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, and Peter Pan. Plus, Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf became Disney's first best-selling single, and it became an anthem of the Great Depression. Also, the song became part of Disneyland's Halloween Screams fireworks show during Disney's Halloween time, and it influenced a jazz song for the House of Mouse show called Big Bad Wolf Daddy, sung by the Big Bad Wolf, the Three Little Pigs, and, surprisingly of all, the Bimbettes. And now, let's talk about the other three cartoons that the Three Little Pigs were featured in. First is The Big Bad Wolf, released on April 13th, 1934. In this, Little Red Riding Hood is being escorted by Fiddler and Fifer Pig to go to her grandmother's house, and Practical Pig advises them not to take the shortcut through the woods. Ignoring his warning, The three end up encountering Goldilocks the Fairy Queen, who is soon revealed, thanks to a branch breaking, to be the big bad wolf in disguise. Realizing they've been tricked, Fiddler and Fifer run home, while Little Red Riding Hood escapes from the wolf. However, the wolf isn't giving up on getting dinner and goes to Grandma's house, where he chases her into the closet and gets into bed dressed as her. Little Red arrives, and after examining her big eyes, nose, and mouth, she becomes terrified to see the big bad wolf is posing as her grandmother. Thankfully, Fiddler and Fifer manage to get Practical Pig for help, and they manage to beat the wolf by putting popcorn seeds and hot coals down his pants. Now, in my personal opinion, while it didn't achieve the same levels of popularity as the first short, I found it to be pretty decent, and I like the fact that it was a crossover with Little Red Riding Hood. Next we come to The Three Little Wolves, released on April 18th, 1936. In this short, Fifer and Fiddler Pig discover a wolf alarm, which is in the form of a horn, and play around with it to get Practical Pig's attention. And when he discovers that it was just a trick, he warns his brothers that if they get caught by the wolf and blow the wolf alarm, he will think it's a trick. However, the big bad wolf and his three sons are seen stalking Fifer and Fiddler. While attempting to capture them, the wolf disguises himself as Little Bo Peep and tells the pigs that our sheep are lost and doesn't know where to find them. Shortly, the pigs discover the wolf's three sons disguised as sheep, and they all run home to their cave. Upon entering, the wolf locks the door, swallows the key, and springs his trap. The pigs try to blow the wolf alarm, but Practical does not come to the rescue. Just as Fifer and Fiddler are about to be put on a roasting pan, they challenge the wolf pups to blow the wolf alarm really loudly. After the wolf pups do a sissy blow, the big bad wolf blows the wolf alarm to prove what the wolf family are really made of. This time it is so loud that Practical hears it and hurries to the rescue, pulling his wolf pacifier along behind him. While the wolf is about to put the pigs in the oven, Practical arrives disguised as an Italian vegetable peddler and offers a free sample of tomatoes. After opening the door, Practical throws a tomato in the wolf's face and gets chased into the wolf pacifier, where he gets assaulted by the contraption's many mechanisms, with his son following after him. Now, to be honest, this was the only Three Little Pigs cartoon that I did not see on the Disney Channel during my boyhood. But after watching it on YouTube, I thought this cartoon was pretty good. And I think it was pretty interesting that it was based on The Boy Who Cried Wolf, which still is not one of my favorite fairy tales. But like that story, this cartoon teaches a lesson to not pull a false alarm. Otherwise, if something bad were to actually happen, no one may answer to it. And I also like that this cartoon introduces the big bad wolf's three sons. The last cartoon to talk about is The Practical Pig, released on February 24th, 1939. In this, Practical Pig is working on a new anti-wolf contraption, this time with a lie detector. His two brothers, Fiddler and Fifer, decide to go swimming, despite Practical's warning about the big bad wolf lurking by the pond. The wolf disguises himself as a mermaid while catching Fiddler and Fifer with a net and brings them to an old windmill where his sons are waiting for their dinner. But he tells them they must not eat until he captures Practical. While the wolf is off to capture Practical with a fake letter, the three little wolves start early to put the two pigs into a pan and prepare to bake them into a pork pie. Realizing the wolf is up to his old tricks and his brothers have been captured, Practical tries out his new invention by strapping him to a chair in the basement and forces him to tell where his brothers are. The wolf claims he has never heard of nor seen them, but the lie detector detects his lies and punishes the wolf with brushes to wash his mouth out with soap and spank him. Back at the hideout, Fiddler and Fifer manage to escape due to the wolf pups using pepper, which causes the two pigs to sneeze so strong that the pie crust is ducked off and the wolves are splatted and trapped against the wall. After the big bad wolf is shot out of Practical's house with a firecracker and explodes into the sky, Fiddler and Fifer arrive home where their brother scolds them for defying his warnings. They tell him that they didn't go swimming, at which point the lie detector springs into action and punishes them. Now, this was the last Three Little Pigs cartoon that I ever saw on the Disney Channel, and despite the fact that it's not on this DVD nor on Disney Plus yet, I thought the story was pretty similar to the Three Little Wolves, but much, much more serious. Also, I would hate to be strapped to a chair and go through a mouthwash and a spank from Practical Pig's machine. Also, aside from these classic shorts, the Three Little Pigs and the Big Bad Wolf got to be featured in The Thrifty Pig, which was released in 1941 for the National Board of Canada as a World War II propaganda film to encourage Canadians to buy war bonds to defeat the Nazis. They appeared in the 1950s Mickey Mouse Club March song along with the Toby Tortoise Returns cartoon in 1936, and they appeared in Who Framed Roger Rabbit in 1988. Also, they got their own restaurant at Disney California Adventure called Fiddler, Fifer, and Practical Cafe and Bakery ever since 2012. They made several appearances in the House of Mouse ever since the early 2000s, as well as having a new cartoon called Little Bad Wolf, where the Big Bad Wolf teaches his son how to catch pigs. They also appeared in Epic Mickey 2, The Power of Two, The Wonderful World of Mickey Mouse, and last year, they appeared in the Chip 'n Dale Rescue Rangers movie. And now, let's move on to the characters and their voice actors. Let's begin with Fifer Pig, the flute-playing pig voiced by Mary Motor, and Fiddler Pig, the violin-playing pig voiced by Dorothy Compton. In my eyes, both of them are equally jolly, lazy, and cowardly. They both believe that hard work should be disregarded in favor of fun and games, even when said work is for their own protection. In each short, they constantly downplay the big bad wolf and other forest dangers, only to find themselves in grave peril due to their arrogance, which makes them easy targets for the wolves' hungry schemes. Plus, they are also incredibly stubborn as they constantly refuse to adhere to Practical Pig's advice. But at the same time, Fifer and Fiddler are friendly and extroverted, becoming fast friends with Little Red Riding Hood, for instance. They can also be pretty clever on certain occasions, as seen where they trick the wolf and his three sons into exposing their schemes to Practical Pig. Next we come to their older brother, Practical Pig, voiced by Pinto Colvig, aka the original voice of Pluto, Goofy, Sleepy, and Grumpy. Practical is the leader of the three pigs, and he lives up to his name by being stern, serious, and the only pig with common sense. He loves to play, being a master piano player, but he believes that hard work should be prioritized, with fun and games being put on the back burner until afterwards. When it comes to surviving the wolves' attacks, it is Practical's ingenuity that ultimately saves the day. Following the destruction of his brother's houses, Fifer and Fiddler moved to Practical's brick house, where the trio have dwelled together ever since. Also, I think Practical is really smart and responsible, and I like that he's prepared and heavily equipped with equipment to outsmart the wolf. And I think he's a very genius inventor. Next up is the villain of the shorts, the Big Bad Wolf, voiced by Bill Bletcher, best known as the first voice of Pete, and he does the Headless Horseman's laugh in The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. Now, when I was little, I thought the Big Bad Wolf was really scary while listening to the read-along tape. Same goes for this illustration. However, several years later, after watching the shorts, I don't think the Big Bad Wolf is as scary or as threatening as I thought he was. In fact, while he does have a pretty strong breath, I think he's very sneaky, especially during the grim grinning ghost song on the Disneyland Fun sing-along video. And like most cartoon villains, I find it pretty funny that the Big Bad Wolf is a master of disguise, like when he dresses up in sheepskin, which is how I was introduced to the phrase wolf in sheep's clothing, or when he dresses up like Little Bo Peep or a mermaid while going after Fiddler and Fifer Pig. And I really think it's funny when the wolf gets his comeuppance when Practical Pig outsmarts him by burning his tail and using his machines to punish him. Next we have Little Red Riding Hood, voiced by Shirley Reed. Like her fairy tale counterpart, I think Little Red is a curious little girl, and I like that she was being accompanied by Fiddler and Fifer while taking a basket full of food to her grandmother's, which I find is a smarter idea than going through the woods alone. Finally, we come to the Wolf's Three Sons, the Three Little Wolves, voiced by Alice Ardell and Leone Lediot. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. To me, these young wolves are just as bad as their dad is. They dress almost identically, and they pay no mind to their dad's orders. And they are just as eager to eat the pigs as he is. And now, on to my final words. Overall, the Three Little Pigs shorts are some of the most classical and famous cartoons in the Silly Symphony series. They have great animation for the time, they all have fun stories and spectacular voice acting. The Three Little Pigs are some of the most beloved characters in Disney history next to Mickey Mouse and his gang. The Big Bad Wolf is a hungry and sneaky villain, and the Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf song is a timeless Disney tune. So, if you ever get the chance, be sure to check them out either on DVD, YouTube, Disney Plus, or on Kim Cartoon. And trust me, you and your family will have a fun time. So, for my ratings, I give the first short a 100%, the Big Bad Wolf short a 95%, the Three Little Wolves a 73%, and the Practical Pig short an 88%. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me for my next blog, Mustang Power.